And now we can duplicate this tile by just holding Shift and pulling out one axis. And in order to align these tiles, we are using the grid. So when right-clicking in the viewport, we have here the grid, and here you should pick snap position so that the grid is enabled. And a unit setup of maybe 50 units. And use show grid, and also make the grid relative so the grid jumps according to the selection. And I will disable the draw line so that just see some dots here. And now when I move the tiles, I can see that they stick to the grid. Because now we have no lighting, it's maybe a little bit hard to see the outlines or the edges of the shapes. So we are switching to another shading mode. So we just change the lighting mode for now. We will later introduce some lights. So now we can see it much better. So, and now we can start really creating the board. So just hold down Shift and pull out another tile. So as I said in the introduction, we're going to have 6 tiles and 8 tiles in the depth. When you press Ctrl, you can select multiple tiles. And here I can duplicate it again. Just press and hold Shift. Okay, I hope everybody's at the same level. Everybody made 6 by 8 tiles. Yeah? Need time, or how can you help you? Okay, I think now we have everybody at the same level. I just saw that 2 people had problems that the asset browser is not showing the assets. There's another way how to create any object. We have this shape creator panel. If you don't have it here, you can just bring it up by clicking this button here and pick the shape creators panel. And the shape creator allows us to create any shape. Like all these shapes are static mesh instances, and we can just drag in a static mesh like this, and now it's empty, so we have to pick the file, and then we can also pick any of these meshes. So like we did it with the floor tile, and that's the other way how we can create exactly the same tile. So for the 2 PCs where you cannot use the asset browser, please just use the shape creator to drag in the new shapes, and then just go to the mesh file name and pick the shape manually. Okay, so what we should do now is to create some bounding wall so that our ball cannot escape. Okay, so I will now show it again with the shape creator. So drag in the shape and change the mesh file name. We can see that now we have this wall tile. And I just do the same thing again. I hold down Shift and create enough wall tiles so that they cover one side of the board. And again, I'm holding down Ctrl and picking all my wall tiles here. And then I hold down Shift. So I released already Ctrl. I'm holding down Shift and copy all the tiles to the other side. And of course, I also need the wall on the sides. So I'm just copy one of these existing pieces. And I can change the orientation here in the properties. And I change it to 90 degrees. And then place it here on the side. And then when I have one piece in place, I do the same again, holding down Shift and copy it. Here the same again, I'm holding down Ctrl, pick all tiles from that side, release it and press Shift. Okay, so your board should then look like this. Okay, I hope everybody has now the same level. We have a board with 6 by 8. Maybe it's a good time to save your progress. Now I would like to change the C position of the wall tiles, because we can see that they're actually much higher than we position them. So there's just a little difference here. Before you do that, we can select all wall tiles at once. So here we can see wall tile, the first one. I hold down Shift and click the last one. And now I can just pull all wall tiles a little bit up. And we can also select all tiles in the viewport by pressing Control and dragging a frame over all tiles. So I can see in the Shapes panel now everything is selected. And we can apply optimization, so the engine can bake all the static meshes together into one shape so that it's faster when drawing. So we have here if you click the right mouse button on all the selected shapes and use relevant operations, and then select move into new shape group, mesh. We can see now they are all collected in this mesh group. This is just an optimization so that all these shapes get baked together and drawn at one time. Okay, and because we can export with vForge our scenes to different devices, we have different profiles, and you can see in the toolbar that we have here different profiles like DirectX, Android, and iOS. So let's switch to Android, because today we intend to make it for Android. The reason for that is that we can change the settings according to the target device. There are different main layer settings for each target device, like Android and iOS, and now we just like to change it once. That's why we're selecting the Android. And when you select the main layer and go to the properties panel, you can see a property called Sky Config. And you click this button with the 3 dots, and we can configure a Skybox here. And I already prepared a Skybox, so we can click the load button here. And in the configs folder, we can find the Sky Config. Then click OK. You should see the sky. Okay, so now it's time to give the scene some lighting. So we go to the Shape Creators panel. We have section lighting, and there are different lights. What we want is a static light. There are 3 different static lights, and the first one will be a directional light. Just drag it in. And bring it up a little bit, and then change the gizmo so that we can rotate it. Here we can change the gizmo. And just like to have a little bit a nicer angle for the light, so that it could come from the side. And now I'd like to switch back to the normal shaded view. And we can see that right now there is, it looks all white because we didn't calculate the static light. And we can calculate it by pressing here, calculate lighting. And it will execute an external program, which is called Relux. And maybe it tells you that there is no configuration, which is okay, just press OK. Okay, let's place a second light, this time a static Omni light. Again, just drag it into the viewport and switch back to the Move gizmo and just bring it up somewhere above our board. And we can see that here is a small handle that let us change the radius of the light.